I work for Digital. I've worked there for just over a year and a half. And when I joined, the company was, not so big, maybe 60 to 80 people. And really I came in to establish a recruitment function because there were just a couple of people just kind of doing recruitment. And we've gone through this massive growth phase. So hopefully I can share with you how we've done that, how we've established that recruitment function, and actually how we now are seen as a bit of a recruitment engine in the business. And it's not just us as a recruitment team that's advocating that, but new joiners coming in saying, oh, I hear you guys are a real engine, you really get things done. And that's a huge achievement for us. So hopefully I've picked out some key snippets and we'll be able to shed a bit of light and what we've been through really and what we continue to go through. So these were the key things that really resonated with me and seemed to come out through some of the questions. So it's that old age kind of quality versus quantity. So you need to hire X amount of people by this time. Your team necessarily isn't going to scale. We're probably not going to give you extra budget. So you've got to keep using the same tools you're using, and how on earth are you going to do it? And an easy way would just be to just say, okay, anyone, I'll go and stand outside with my sandwich board and let anyone in really. So it's just around how do we keep that integrity of the recruitment team as well to show that what we do is good and yeah, keeping that quality really. Staying true to your culture as well. So I'll tell you a bit about how our business is structured, which I think really helps keeps our culture from being diluted as we grow quite substantially. But also there'll be some tips in there as well around how we've managed to keep our culture true to us, even as we bring in lots of new Andys, as we call our people. Candidate brand. So getting out there, getting the word out there. So no one really knows who Digital is. Some people do, some people don't, but they usually don't because we're only 4 years old. So it's about how do we get our brand out there to be different and to stand out as an amazing place for technologists to work essentially. And then that efficiency piece, so recruiting efficiently. There's lots of kind of quick wins that you can implement potentially within your team, so that if you don't have extra budget and you don't have extra people, you can try and keep things moving essentially. And that's one thing certainly at Digital that we do is keep up that pace, but we're just trying to do it in a way in which we don't all burn out. That's the challenge. Cool, okay. So let me tell you a little bit about kind of Digital and how it all began. So about 4 years ago, our CEO came up with a concept that there was a big digital skills gap in the UK, and he wanted to help other businesses close that gap by hiring amazing technologists, so developers and business analysts that can go into companies and help them build remarkable digital products, but at speed, so in agile ways of working. And he previously owned a professional services business that had then got bought out kind of 10 years later by a company called North Highland. So he's done this before. He wanted to do something a little bit different. The way in which he works is that he has his BHAG, his big, hairy, audacious goal. And one of his BHAGs is to grow Digital to 600 people, although I keep hearing 700 recently, so I need to check in on that, by the end of 2019. So that's kind of quick growth. So he's like, I want to grow this business quicker than I built my last business. And he's bringing us all along with him, which is really exciting. And you can see that we've made a good start. So kind of end of 2013, early 2014, it was just a handful of people really. And I'll just tell you a bit about our culture there actually, because before we even talked about clients or anything, him and our Chief Happiness Officer talked about the culture of this business and how it's going to be different, how we want it to be remarkable, and that's the brand that we're taking out to the market. So they came up with this concept of squads and clubs. You may recognise that terminology from the likes of Spotify and Netflix. Essentially, a club is a collection of 6 squads. A squad is a cross-functional team of 12 people. And to complete a club, we need to recruit 6 squads. And then a couple of extra kind of supporting roles. So a club is never going to get bigger than 80 people. each club, so we've got 3 in London now, we're just opening one up in the north of England. It's quite separate, it has its own P&L, its own set of clients. We keep the learning channels open between them, but that's about it. So whenever you walk into one of our club houses, each club has a clubhouse somewhere, it feels like and digital. It feels different, it feels like us, it feels like our culture. And that's a great way of ensuring that the culture doesn't become diluted, because anyone that belongs to a club is always going to feel like they're part of something a little bit smaller, like a own little business or startup, if that makes sense. So that's one way in which we've ensured that our culture doesn't become diluted as we grow and we kind of plonk more 80 people squads around the country or globally. But I will also kind of take you through other things that we've done as well. So this year, so far, we've got to 219, and we are about to recruit 25 people to join a clubhouse in Manchester, and we've still got another squad joining next month. We had one join last Monday, so it continues. And I think next year we'll probably need to recruit about 250 people. So lots of challenges there. And I have to say I'm lucky because I work with a really kind of supportive business. They're agile, and that kind of translates into how we work and the support that we get. But there's definitely been some challenges along the way. So I've got some top tips. So from the bullet points at the beginning with the dog slide, I've tried to bring kind of those points together. So I've brought quality, culture and brand together, and then I'll talk about recruiting efficiently again, kind of separately. So quality, culture and brand, they kind of all fit in and kind of interlink actually, because you want to bring in amazing people that complement your culture, that kind of bring that diversity to your business as well. So diversity is key, and you need to get the brand out there in order to attract those people in order to maintain your culture. So everything's sort of a little bit interlinked. So we say next year we need to recruit 250 people. How on earth are we going to do that? There's key things that we've got in place currently that really help us with that. So we know our culture, we know what is good for us, what works. We know that the good attributes of an Andy are passion for tech, wanting to learn, wanting to share knowledge with others, for instance. So we screen that really, really heavily before we even get someone in the door. And then it's a simple 2-step process. We bring them in and we talk about culture for an hour, and then we'll talk about tech for an hour. So whatever that might be relevant to the role itself, might be a test that we get them to do before, or a case study that they present while they're here. But it's really, really simple. And then from there, it's either thumbs up or a thumbs down, but we'll have that wash up with the interviewers beforehand. The recruitment team at Digital, we have quite a lot of autonomy. So when we see good CVs coming in, we just make the call and then we bring them in if we think they're good. So there isn't kind of that approval process or hiring managers having to approve. And part of the reason for that is we recruit 2 key roles at volume. So developers and analysts, we recruit them pretty much all year round. So we know what good looks like for us now. Obviously it evolves as the tech that we need evolves. But if there are roles that you recruit at volume, and you know you're an SME in terms of what a good profile looks like for your business, then perhaps if you don't have that autonomy to just go ahead and bring people in, maybe have a think about how you could make that change within the business to kind of cut out that extra approval process. So it's about knowing what is a good kind of culture fit for your business, and then being empowered to bring those types of people in. And then trying to keep the process as simple and as short as possible. Are there many recruiters here that are recruiting developers right now, technologists? Yeah. So increasingly, so I guess you'll understand how quickly the market is moving right now. So hiring processes that take 2-3 weeks, you're just not staying competitive, and before you know that person's probably off the market before your CEO or your hiring managers even had a chance to look at your feedback on them. So what we try and do is try and do those 2 processes in one day if possible, and we just keep it really simple essentially. And we try to ensure that we have a variety of interviewers as well. So we want to keep our business diverse. If the same people are interviewing people, then you may end up recruiting people that are very alike in certain ways. So what we try and do is empower the business to go through our training, to go through workshops, to understand what we look for in our culture, so that they can interview for it for us. And that then kind of brings a bit more buy-in into the business as well. It's all about that shared accountability and ownership for the business. As we've grown, we started off with one club, and that grew quite gradually. Then we grew another club really quickly, and now we've started another one in London. We're about to open one in Manchester. And a lot of people that started initially in our very first club are a little bit scared about, well, you're recruiting so quickly, how are you going to keep our culture the way it is? It's really special. So by involving the business, you do kind of get a bit more of that accountability, and people are starting to have their say a little bit as well. So that's really key. It's also just worth noting who you're getting to interview when you're thinking about culture. And you may not even have a culture fit interview. I'm not sure every business has a different process. But it is something important to test for anyone that you're bringing into your business. You don't want to bring in anything that might disrupt a good thing that you've got going. But just have a think about whether or not you've got the right interviewers. It's not a criticism of certain interviewers, but some interviewers could be stronger at some things than others. Some might be great at finding that technical expertise, but could either put someone off from a cultural perspective, just because of their approach and their manner, or they may not be a good representation themselves of your own culture. So you're in control of that, so maybe just have a think about that as well. Another key thing that we've done to keep our culture feeling good is really advocate our referral scheme. When I joined, we really didn't have many referrals, and actually it's now our biggest source. So it's about 40% of our hires a year are made via referrals, and I think that's going to go up. We have a good reward scheme, so I think that encourages people, but also I think people really enjoy working where we are on the whole. It's different, it feels good, people have a say, and so they end up talking about it. And we host things like meetups, different types of events. A lot of our people go to meetups and networking events and end up just talking about it, and the referrals start flowing in really. But if there are good people working for you and they know someone, the likelihood is, as you know with referrals, that that referral is going to be a good fit as well. And we have found that. And I will talk a little bit about data when we talk about kind of efficiency. But one thing that I've been concerned about is we're recruiting all these referrals. Are they a quality source? And B, are they maintaining the diversity of the business? Yes, it's great that it allows us to hit our hiring goals, but I want to make sure that they're the right source. And we've just done a little bit of analysis recently, and we've correlated hiring source with ratings. So following someone's journey across a year at Undigital in terms of how well they're doing, what scores they're getting at performance times. And referrals do tend to be rated higher than other sources. So there is some data there to back up that referrals are a good source of hire. We do a lot on social media to shout about our culture. We're lucky to have some amazing office space, so snaps of that, to videos that we do, to Facebook Live, things like Friday Fun, which we do. It's all about shouting about it. I partner really closely with our marketing team. So every week, I've got my tech recruiter talking to someone that looks after social, saying, these are the roles that we need help with, but by the way, these are some great companies that you could be following, and we're posting blogs and content. So it's not just about the we're hiring posts, it's starting that conversation, being seen as a business that's a subject matter expert in what you do. So for us, that's building digital products. So we've got blogs around, on agile, blockchain, and on all the latest tech trends, so that we're seen as that. And think about who your target audience is as well. So we are quite a people-y culture, as you can see from kind of the bright colours and that kind of thing. But we've come to realise that a lot of the technical people that we hire don't really care about the fact that we have a beers fridge and Friday Fun and, chair massages every quarter. That kind of thing is like, okay, what am I going to learn and what tech am I going to be using? So we've had to I guess, adapt what we talk about to our audience, and that's really helped as well. Just checking the time, and it's going so quickly. Efficiency, okay, let me talk about this. So, working as a team, especially when it's a small team, and having had a few chats this morning, it does feel like there are quite a lot of small teams, especially in businesses that are going through rapid growth. It's how you can be as efficient as possible. So there's a couple of things that we do. We try and be as data-driven as possible. So I know from the hires that we make where people have come from, and I can see, wow, referrals are our biggest source, or HackerJob for finding developers. Actually, that's been a really good source. And then we're trying to do things like correlate that back to quality and that kind of thing. But also conversion rate. So try and think about where you're getting most applications from, and then do you actually make any hires from them? So we get so many applications from jobs boards, but we actually don't hire from them, maybe one or two. So why are you wasting your time sourcing those or reviewing those hundreds of CVs when actually you could just try and cut them off, or actually put that time towards another source that might be of better value? Standardised process, I talked a bit about that already. Things like just grabbing availability in advance for the week if it's always hard to kind of pin interviewers down. We try and do full process in one day with candidates as well. So we've actually got an offer out in 24 hours to a senior developer, and they've accepted and then actually ended up starting the following week. So it's all about moving quickly and optimising your business process in order to do that. Teamwork. So with my team, we actually work in an agile-ish way. So we have a Kanban board, which means we have a board with post-it notes on it. We've got our pipeline. We then have kind of culture fit, technical interview, offered, accepted, and then a to be rejected section as well. And it's just a great way so that every morning at 9:30 we have a 15-minute stand-up and we go through, right, these are the people I'm moving across, these are the people I need to reject, this is my pipeline. And it's really visual. The whole business can see it as well if they're in the office we're in. And it also means it visualises any kind of bottlenecks that you're having. So I really can't find someone to interview there. Or actually, we've got loads of people at interview, but we've got no one at the top of the pipe. We better go back and do a bit of sourcing. Or we've got loads of people offered, but no one's accepting. What do we need to do here? Let's put everything down this morning, just focus on that. So it just really gives us focus. And then ask for support if you need it. I know in some organisations, the leadership and management team are approachable, some aren't. But one thing that I do is I speak to our leadership team every week. I send an update, and I always have a section called pinch points, because I need them to know where we're feeling it and where it's feeling tough, so that they can then support us and step in if they need to. And then it's not a horrible shock if we don't hit a target or a start date, because they were fully aware the whole way through. So just that transparency is key, and I think our Kanban board helps with that. So in summary, try and see where you can find some quick wins. How can you optimize your process? How can you work together as a team better? You know, that unified goal. Know what works for your business. Is it referrals? Is it job boards? Is it none of those things? Where can you focus your time and energy? Encourage the business to come along the journey with you. Get a better variety of interviewers, workshops, lunch and learns about what you're doing, where your challenges are. Just raise that awareness, I guess. And it always comes back to that multi-channel strategy. There is no kind of golden ticket to this is how you can hire 100 devs in 3 months. I think we all find it really, really tough, but just trying to do as much as you can across lots of different forums should hopefully help you get your brand out there if, like us, you're kind of a littler known business. So that's it.